Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new session of revision. But today we are not revising for net. Since you all know that Karnataka exam will be happening soon on 24th of November, so we have decided to give you a countdown series for Karnataka set specially. So today is countdown session 5. We will count backwards for you all, like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, right? So today here we are with a new session for Karnataka set revision, and today's countdown session 5. I really hope all the Karnataka set aspirants out there will be really benefited from these sessions. All right, and today here with me is Ananya.
Hello everyone.
So Ananya, shall we start the session for tonight?
Yes, we should.
Okay, so let me start by sharing the screen first. Yes, it's visible. Okay. So I welcome you all again to Karnataka Set Countdown Session 5. Right. So let's move on to our first question.
This term was first used apparently by the American painter Washington Allston in century 1840 and subsequently revived and made famous by T.S. Eliot in an essay on Hamlet 1919. Now, which term is it? Is it pathetic fallacy? Is it egotistical sublime? Is it objective correlative? Or is it vorticism?
Okay. So knowing literary terms is very important. And here we're talking about the term objective. Oh, sorry, I'm so sorry. We're talking about the term objective correlative, right? This term was first used by the American painter Washington Allston, and then it was popularized by T.S. Eliot in his essay Hamlet and His Problems, right? And so it's a literary term for Eliot, which means that it's a term which is used to express emotions through a set of objects, images, or situations. So for T.S. Eliot, objective correlative is a term which expresses certain emotions through a set of objects, images, or situations, right? And for T.S. Eliot, Hamlet failed because it lacked an objective correlative. In that context, he talked about this term. All right? Okay. So let's move on to the next question.
The Bell Jar is the only novel written by the American writer and poet Sylvia Plath. Originally published under the pseudonym Dash in 1963, the novel is supposedly semi-autobiographical with the names of places and people changed. Now, is it Victoria Smith, Victoria Lucas, Harriet Smith, or none of the above?
So here the question is, which pseudonym was used by Sylvia Plath for writing this novel? So she used the pseudonym of Victoria Lucas, right? Victoria Lucas. And this novel is often regarded as a Roman clef because the protagonist's descent into mental illness parallels Sylvia Plath's experiences with what may have been called clinical depression or bipolar disorder. Plath died by suicide a month after its first UK publication. This novel was published under Plath's name for the first time in 1967. It was not published in the US until 1971, in accordance with the wishes of both Plath's ex-husband, Ted Hughes, and her mother. But in the US, the book became an instant bestseller and has since translated into many languages. The Bel Jar is a very important work which gives us, or it rather captures, the psyche, the inner experiences and conditions of Plath really well. The Bel Jar is a very important work by Plath. Do look it up. Right. Next.
Ode on the Death of the Duke of Bellington was written by Dash. Was it Tennyson, Browning, Arnold, or Milton?
So it's a very important work by Tennyson. Okay, so the Victorian poets are very important. be it any exam, net or set, gate, whatever. The Victorian poets are very important, okay? Tennyson, Browning, Arnold. Please do look up these poets more and more. Not only their very well-known poems, but also their lesser-known poems, okay? Do look up their lesser-known poems as well. Right, next.
A Pale View of Hills, 1982, is the first novel by Dash. Is it by Han Kang or Kazuo Ishiguro or V.S. Naipaul or none of the above?
Right. So I know that all of you are aware about this work. Yes, it's the debut novel of Kazuo Ishiguro, right? And it's a story of Etsuko. It talks about Etsuko, a middle-aged Japanese woman living alone in England, and opens with a discussion between Etsuko and her younger daughter Nikki about the recent suicide of Etsuko's older daughter Keiko. Right? This is the rough plot of this debut novel of Kazuo Ishiguro. Kazuo Ishiguro is a very, very important writer. He is a Nobel laureate also. So please do look up all the novels of Kazuo Ishiguro in the correct chronological order, right? And Hancock, as you all know, he got Nobel Prize this year. V.S. Naipaul also a very important writer. So the writers we have also talked about in the options. Please look up those writers and their works in the correct chronology. Okay, next.
Mansfield Park is the third published novel by the English author Jane Austen. It was first published in Dash by Thomas Egerton. Now, which year was it? Is it 1811, 1813, 1814, or 1816?
So, Jane Austen, as you all know, she was the stalwart of a novelist from the Regency era. She has written many novels. Her novels are popularly known as novels of manners, and they're known to exploit the genre of domestic realism. Her debut novel was Sense and Sensibility, then Pride and Prejudice came, and next came this novel Mansfield Park, which was published in 1814. Mansfield Park was published in 1814, and this novel tells the story of Fanny Price, starting when her overburdened family sends her at the age of 10 to live in the household of her wealthy aunt and uncle, and following her development into early adulthood. From early on, critical interpretation has been diverse, differing particularly over the character of the heroine, right? And as you all know, even movies have been made about this novel. So please do look up the movie adaptations also of the novels of Jane Austen. Try to remember the settings and the characters as well. And chronology, very important. Okay, next. So before we proceed, I know many of you have already enrolled for our net recap course. It's going on now. If you haven't enrolled yet, you can do so from our official website, vallath.in. Just log into our website and you will find this course from the list of our courses, and you can enroll easily, right? Okay. So let's move on to the next question.
In an Antique Land is a 1992 book written in first person by Dash, recounting his experiences in two Egyptian villages, attempting to retrace accounts of an unknown Indian slave, as well as a reconstruction of the life of a 12th century Jewish merchant in the area. Now, was it Amitabh Bagchi, Amitav Ghosh, Vikram Seth, or Khushwant Singh?
So a very well-known work of a very well-known writer. Yes, it is by none other than Amitav Ghosh, In an Antique Land. Okay, and this book contains two narratives. The first, an anthropological narrative, which revolves around two visits made by Amitav Ghosh to two villages in the Nile Delta while he was writing his doctoral dissertation, and again a few years later. In the second narrative, presented parallel to the first one in the book, Ghosh recounts the history of a 12th century Jewish merchant, Abraham ben Yiju, and his slaves Ashu and Boma, using documents from the Cairo Geniza. So I'm pointing out these authors and areas to you so that you guys can look up these areas in greater details. Amitav Ghosh is a very, very important writer. He has written many works of great importance. Please do look up specifically Amitav Ghosh, his works, novels. Do look up his works of both fiction and non-fiction, and please in the correct chronology. Right, chronology is very important for any uh, author you are studying. So please look up all the works of Amitav Ghosh in the correct chronology. Even Amitabh Bagchi, Vikram Sheth, Khushwant Singh, all of them are equally important writers of Indian literature. So do look up their works. All right. Next.
Who among the following talked about open and closed texts? Now, is it Derrida, Raymond Williams, Terry Eagleton, or Roland Barthes, who talked about open and closed texts?
Okay. So as you all know, knowing such knowing such literary concepts, theoretical concepts are very important. So it was none other than Roland Barthes who famously made the distinction between open and closed text, means readerly and writerly texts, right? We all remember that he talked about readerly texts, that is texts which are close ended but the reader doesn't have much to do. And on the other hand, you also talked about writerly texts, right, where the reader participates actively in the meaning making, right? The reader participates actively in the production of meaning of the text. So, Roland Barthes famously distinguished between readerly and writerly texts, also known as open and closed texts. Clear? Roland Barthes, Derrida, Raymond Williams, Eagleton, all of them are very important theorists. To look up their works, the concepts they have propounded, the chronology of their works, very important. Next.
First elaborated as a feature of colonization in a book of the same title by Alfred Crosby, 1986. The term refers to the biological colonization of Asia and the Americas. Now, which term is it? Is it hybridity, ecological imperialism, cultural imperialism, or dependency complex?
Okay. So Alfred Crosby is again a very important theorist, and here we're talking about ecological imperialism, right? Alfred Crosby wrote Ecological Imperialism, the Biological Expansion of Europe. Okay, and it's a 1986 book by environmental historian Alfred Crosby. This book builds on Crosby's earlier study, The Columbian Exchange, in which he described the complex global transfer of organisms that accompanied European colonial endeavors. Okay, so ecological imperialism is a very important concept in post colonial studies, right? So, and in this particular work and this particular concept, rather, seeks to explain why European colonialists were successful in establishing settler societies in temperate regions around the globe. So, here he talks about the interaction of post colonialism with the environment around. Okay, Alfred Crosby, very important, and so is his concept ecological imperialism. Here we have some more concepts: hybridity of Homi Bhabha, then cultural imperialism of Edward Said, then dependency complex also is a very important concept. Do let me know in the comments who talked about this concept. Okay, so knowing post-colonial terms, right, very very important. Even in this time net they asked about these concepts, especially concepts which are really loaded ones in terms of post-colonialism, colonialism, imperialism, empire history, right? So do look up these terms more and more, right? Next.
The Last Yankee is a play by Arthur Miller, which premiered in Dash at the Manhattan Theatre Club in New York City. Was it in 1990, 1993, 1997, or 1995?
When we talk about American playwrights, Arthur Miller is extremely important. You have to study Miller, right? So do look up again all of his plays in the correct chronology. And here we have talked about The Last Yankee, right? It premiered in the year 1993. To look up the summaries of these plays, the characters, the settings, all right? Arthur Miller, very important. Also studied Tennessee Williams, Eugene O'Neill, right? Very important playwrights. Okay, next.
Which work among the following is not by William Godwin? Is it Enquiry Concerning Political Justice, Things as They Are, Lives of the Necromancers, or Dreams of a Solitary Walker, which is not by William Godwin?
So, Inquiry Concerning Political Justice, Things as They Are, or The Adventures of Caleb Williams, Lives of the Necromancers, all these are works by William Godwin. But Dreams or The Reveries of a Solitary Walker, it's a work by Rousseau. Okay, it's an unfinished work by Rousseau. It was the last of a number of works composed toward the end of his life that were deeply autobiographical. Previous works include the Rousseau's Confessions, then Dialogues, then Judge of Jean-Jacques. Okay, this book, Dreams of a Solitary Walker, is divided into 10 chapters called Walks. Walks 1 to 7 are complete. The 8th and 9th walks were completed but not revised by Rousseau, while the 10th walk was incomplete at the author's death in 1778. The content of the book is a mix of autobiographical anecdote, descriptions of the sites, especially plants that Rousseau saw in his walks on the outskirts of Paris, and elaborations and extensions of arguments previously made by Rousseau in fields like education and political philosophy. So Rousseau's Confessions, then Dreams of a Solitary Walker, then Emily on Education. These are some of the very important works by Rousseau where he has propounded most of his important concepts like civil and savage society, right? He was a massive philosopher and he has mostly dealt with his philosophical concepts in these autobiographical works. Okay, so do look up Rousseau, Voltaire, Hegel, Kant, very, very important. Okay, next.
Song of the Hindustani Minstrel is written by Dash. Now, is it by Torudat, Henry de Rosio, Sarojini Naidu, or none of the above?
Yes, you all know the answer. Song of the Hindustani Minstrel is a very famous poem by Derozio, right? Derozio. Again, it's a reminder for you all to look up Indian poets, okay? Torudat, Derozio, Sarojini Naidu, all of them are very important Indian poets. To look up their works, all right? The exam is nearing towards you, right? So please keep revising. So that's all for tonight from our side. I really hope these sessions will help you all. And do consider joining our net recap course. It's going on now. Right. So I really hope you guys loved the session. Please like the video and share this with your friends as well. So shall we wrap up, Ananya?
Yes, good night, everyone.
Yes. Good night, guys. Take care.